We've seen Kevin Hart do a lot of comedy, but this time he once again gets to show off his more dramatic side in the Netflix original movie Fatherhood. You might want to grab some tissues. A father brings up his baby girl as a single dad after the unexpected death of his wife, who died a day after their daughter's birth. So this is based on a memoir called 2 Kisses for Maddie, a memoir of love and loss. Hart stars as Matt, and like I said, he becomes a widower one day after his wife gives birth to their daughter. He's wildly unprepared, which is understandable, and what hurts a bit early in the film is to hear others infer to him that he won't make it, that he'll not have what it takes to raise his daughter without his wife. This is a really touching movie, but it also is infused with a lot of humor. And I think it's balanced really well, where we have great dramatic moments, some steeped in sadness, and then those are offset by some comedy. And I like the mix of the two because it doesn't get overly heavy, but it's also not a laugh fest either. Hart shows some real vulnerability throughout, and he was extremely believable as a dad. He's trying to make things work and care for his newborn. There's a scene at the daughter's first checkup. Her name is Maddie, and the dialogue is pretty piercing, and Hart gets to voice some things that cut right to the bone. The reactions of all the actors are very touching and emotional. And there's a lot in this story that really questions the ideals that men can be caregivers and effective single parents. The story addresses how nobody blinks an eye when a woman raises a child alone. They're more capable, and it's almost a given that women are more compassionate and patient. And I have to agree, I think that's true. When the story addresses this, it comes not only from some great introspection by Matt, but also as he addresses a parent group where he's not welcomed at first. Hart really shows his range in this one, and we've seen him do the dramatic turns before. He was in the remake of the French film called Les Intouchables, which was the American version is The Upside, and he's able to do it convincingly. Now maybe that's because most comedic actors have the ability to go dark and deep, and it creates some really compelling dramatic emotion. But regardless of what's driving it, he kills it in this role. He's both sympathetic and relatable. Alfre Woodard also stars in this, and while she's not 100% likable at the very beginning, it's very clear that she loves big, and it comes across in her performance. Lil Rel Howard and Anthony Harrigan play Matt's best friends, and they add an odd yin and yang mix to him. Howard is kind of in an arrested development stage, but he's well-meaning. And Kerrigan is more of the responsible or level-headed type, but he's sort of bumbling and awkward. Together, they get to each bring new dynamics to Hart's character, as well as the story itself. They also help to drive some of the pointed parts of the narrative. Melody Hurd plays Maddie, and she steals the show a lot of the time. I most recently saw her in the Amazon original Them, and she's really good at portraying a precocious young girl. Now, to make the transition from infant Maddie to 6 or 7-year-old Maddie, the film makes a brief time jump. And it was a little jarring at first, but it's easy to adjust to. When the story takes on Hurd as the non-infant Maddie, it gets a whole new angle as we watch Hart and Hurd clicking with the routines, but encountering also new obstacles. Now, as a dad myself, watching some of the interactions between the two felt very real, whether they were conversations or games. There are even points later in the story where Matt has to tell Maddie something, and the hesitation, fear, and awkwardness were very relatable. Matt stammers and then even bribes Maddie just to keep a positive atmosphere surrounding what he's about to say. Now, one thing that caught me by surprise was the level of emotionality this had. I'd be lying if I said that I didn't tear up more than a few times during the story. And sometimes it was because the story was so sweet. Other times it was because the narrative would touch so close to the truth that it just couldn't be ignored. When it came to Matt's job, there were a few unanswered questions as the film wraps up, especially because of the setup for his work environment. It's meant to cause some conflict, but they weren't really addressed. And I know it doesn't totally impact the story, but it could if I play out the events that come in the near future after the movie concludes. Now, I enjoyed how the story manages to keep Matt and Maddie at the center and forefront. They each get moments to have break-off arcs, but the film doesn't get distracted by other dramas or side stories. It maintains focus on our two central characters, and I think it helps to keep a really compelling story going. When I saw the runtime of 1 hour and 50 minutes, my initial reaction was, it sounds too long. It really wasn't. There was a portion towards the final act that did have a slower pace, but through this, the story breathed a bit and was also able to work in conflicts that helped push everything forward. So I was wrong with my thought that it would be too long. I mean, this isn't a rom-com where it needs to wrap up in that 90-minute sweet spot. The drama required the time, and I didn't feel like it wasted any of it. This is a really touching and sweet story, and I think it's fitting that it lands on Netflix for Father's Day weekend. And while it's really great to see stories of strong women overcoming all kinds of obstacles to raise a child alone, this was refreshing to have a story that shows that a loving and caring dad can do the same. Now, I never got the sense that it was bashing either identity, whether it be a single mom or a single dad. This was more about a parent's love for their kid as they work and fight to figure it all out and then hopefully not screw it all up in the process. Kevin Hart was the perfect choice for this role, and I can't wait to see more dramatic turns from him. And the best part is, he can be both serious and funny within the same story and have it feel completely natural. There's no sex or nudity, some profanity, and just a little bit of violence. I give Fatherhood 4.5 out of 5 couches. So who's a comedic actor that you've really enjoyed watching their dramatic performances? I know that there are more than a bunch to choose from, but let me know yours in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.